We'll start here and identify yourself, of course, and we'll have 4 minutes for each candidate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Willie Cochran. I'm the current Alderman of the 20th Ward. And I've been in this community since 1977. I came to this community as a law enforcement officer and decided to make my home in the 20th Ward as a result of that. My family was raised here. I go to church here. In fact, this is a church that I attend. I've been here for 28 years. I've invested in this community, both in real estate and in a business. Spent over $450,000 opening up a laundromat, 63rd and Drexel, when there was a need for one. I've been a coach, girls basketball team, for 7 years, and I've done a number of other things. Planning processes. Planning processes I have been involved in, starting with the New Communities program, working through CDCs that have focused on economic development and affordable housing as a start. Over 900 units of affordable housing I have been responsible for before I became Alderman. I've worked with Bishop Fraser, I've worked with the likes of Valerie Jarrett, I've worked with the likes of, who was a Chief Executive Officer of our CDC, as well as President Obama, who served as our attorney. Neighborhood Stabilization Plan is another one, commonly known to as Green Healthy Neighborhood Plan. Those plans involve communities, community input, and great outcomes. Some of the people in this room have benefited from the Green Healthy Neighborhood program that focus on planning strategies that maximize the use of vacant land and other neighborhood resources across the neighborhoods of the 20th Ward. The 55th Street Corridor is another one of those studies that involve community sitting at the table to focus on outcomes of their community and put plans in place. I spoke of the New Communities program where thousands of neighbors came together and stakeholders in Woodlawn, Washington Park, and Inglewood, and gave us a map, a road map, with emphasis on issues such as education, safety, farmers markets, childhood development, economic development, infrastructure improvements. The truth is many of the problems that we are impacted by in our neighborhoods are national in scope, structural in nature, and oftentimes too complex to solve at a local neighborhood level. That's why it's important to work comprehensively and inclusively across communities with the same common agenda and the same common goals. What I want and what I do and have done is preserve affordable housing and expand affordable housing. I've advanced education and education outcomes. I have 4 schools now sending high schools that are sending 100% of their graduates to college and qualifying them for college. You cannot find another ward in this city that can say that they are putting 100% of their graduates. And these schools have come into play since I have been elected and have been supported by me. My long-term involvement in urban planning, grassroots planning, experience as a professional law enforcement officer, and board member of CDC's Advanced Education and in the field of public administration are the things that help me to achieve some of the outcomes that we are talking about and we are experiencing. Our communities across the 20th Ward are getting better, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Thank you so much.
My name is Smith. I'm the CEO of Chicago Against Violence, as well as Pastor Corey Brooks' assistant, as well as I had 4 businesses in the 20th Ward. Matter of fact, 1968, I was born in the 20th Ward. Right up the street, 6060 South Drexel, the Woodlawn Hospital. 46 years ago. A lot has changed since then. We had businesses all up and down 63rd. 63rd was like 53rd, but not now. Our schools is closed. I've been on the front line fighting for that. Right across the street when I walk out every day, I have to look at Bessie Ross. That's where my house is at. I had to fight with those teachers that lost their jobs. Those children that was displaced and had to walk half a mile to a mile just to go to school for education. When a lot of our young kids in this ward or in other wards had their penance to baby Jaleel, an 8-month-old child, Damian Turner right up the street, I was there to support those mothers, to walk them through that situation, seeing tears run down their face. It wasn't a pretty sight, but somebody had to be there. I was there. Not only that, right up the street on Kimball, a lot of the residents was living in them housing developments. Couldn't walk down their back porch. Had mold in their house, sinks falling in. I was there, fighting with them, took the lead of that. Risked my life and put it on the front line. That's what a good alderman does. That's what a good leader does. He put himself on the front line, not worried about what comes and what test presents him. I've done that. The record proves for itself. It speaks for itself. Any of these things that I say can be found. And I believe that what we're looking for today is the truth. It's election time. Everybody's going to tell you something to inspire you, to motivate you, to try to win your vote or steal your vote. But when you look outside at our community, in the food desert, development going up, everybody's looking at the site, but nobody's working on the site. When you look at no businesses up and down the street, mom and pop stores are gone. When you look at our schools closed, when you look at our children are dying, not only our children dying, our community was considered the worst community in the country 3 years ago. Now we have the worst block in the city of Chicago, which is called O Block on 64th King Drive. My name is Andre Smith, and I'm telling you something got to change. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
My name is Kevin Bailey. I'm a candidate for Alderman in the 20th Ward. I'm a civil engineer by profession. I went to the University of Illinois. I played 2 Division I sports there. I've studied abroad in Spain. So I speak Spanish, and I believe I'm the only candidate that speaks Spanish, which can communicate to the entire population of the 20th Ward. By the time I graduated from the #1 civil engineering program in the country, #2 in the world. When I left the university, I was put over emergency management for the Union Pacific Railroad, where I worked with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the U.S. National Guard. Anything that threatened the infrastructure for that company, I was sent across the country to run operations. From there, I was promoted to being manager of track maintenance for Metro, where I was in control of the federal specifications and keeping derailments from not happening on Metro. We do not have anything to do with CTA, just to let you know. From there, I was promoted to running Amtrak freight systems for CSX and Union Pacific, and from there being promoted to the high-speed rail lines as a lead civil engineer, the youngest and first person of color in history to be in control of a project that size between St. Louis and Chicago. I've run operations from Chicago all the way to LA. I have an operational background. I've managed work groups, over 500 people between Chicago to LA. I've managed hundreds of thousands and millions in assets. I've handled budgets that range from $4 to $750 million. So I know how to handle large budgets. I know how to work with contracts. I know how to work with people of all walks of life. Those are the skill sets that I bring to the table. I'm running for Alderman because I believe those skill sets are what's necessary to bring this community to its full potential. I believe we're not headed in the proper direction as far as leadership across the city, but especially in places where we are considered to be in blighted communities. TIF districts are misappropriated, lack of transparency. No one's speaking up for us downtown. They want to impose speed cameras, red light cameras, and put your homes on eminent domain lists without us being able to say anything against it. I believe with proper transparency, with proper engagement, and an ear for the people, we can move this community in the right direction. I'll focus on public safety, which constitutes three different components of infrastructure, emergency services, and community, not only police officers. I believe we need to focus on education. And because we have a huge divestment targeting communities of color, I think it's going to take all of us to raise our voices to make a change. And I want to focus on community development, which builds up the people in the community with regards to financial literacy and skills for workforce development, as well as economic development. So once these jobs and development do come to the community, we have the workforce available to make sure that the homegrown entrepreneurs here are ready to take on that opportunity and benefit the people and the residents of the 20th Ward. And last but not least is the health and human services. We need mental health facilities, we need access to health care, and with us working together, we can definitely make that happen. I'm Kevin Bailey, I'm running for Alderman, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kevin Bailey. All right, our next candidate, please.
Thank you, Brother Kelly. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Willie Ray Jr., the best of the five. I would like to thank the deacons, all of the auxiliaries here of Apostolic, and of course the senior pastor for the invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, remember some things about the Bible. It says back in those days, even before Jesus, that the synagogues was used for more than just prayer. And this is why I'm so happy that this institution followed that direction and hosted this particular forum. Also remember that there are prophets throughout the Bible, and there's one whose name is Haggai. And Haggai said, even back then, be careful of your leaders. In today's term, I think we could phrase that to be careful of the ones you elect. The 20th Ward, ladies and gentlemen, has a multitude of issues, but not just the 20th Ward, but the city of Chicago as a whole. I listened to a report a couple of weeks ago that indicated that out of all of the cities on the same spectrum as Chicago, Chicago was not reforming and was not progressing from the economic collapse that we had in 2008. We're at the tier bottom of responding job-wise and et cetera, et cetera. There are a number of issues that we have here. We talk about leadership. Well, one thing that I understand about elected officials is that that is a title that comes with greed. And many of our leaders, that particular title entitles them to become rich, wealthy, etc. And usually they turn their back so they don't understand what it is for poor people to try and survive. The recent budget that the current alderman and the mayor proposed and passed in the city council calls for 4 years of our water bills to be increased, stickers for our automobiles, etc., 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 etc. We do need a change in this 20th Ward. And before I go too much farther, I will go out and tell you exactly how I am, because I'm a straight shooter. I'm supporting Mr. Willie Wilson, and I plan to vote for him. Now, where the other candidate stands, that's their business. I did 36 years recently and retired from Cook County Hospital as a technology surgeon, and I worked in 6 different labs: endo, chemistry, emergency room lab. I was a union steward for 10 years, and I've also been active throughout this community. I would just like to add that even though Mr. Bailey has given some stellar educational background, but Mr. Bailey has not been in this ward at all. He has not lived here. He just recently brought himself into the ward and threw himself on the ballot to be a candidate. Now remember Mr. Resco, who is in prison, and remember that there are other individuals who are financially supporting Mr. Bailey's campaign. I'm not knocking Mr. Bailey, but it is insidious on people to wither into our ward where we have dealt with situations for years and years and talked about he has the best credentials and he's best suited to be your alderman. Come on now. Let's be realistic about this. And hopefully that you consider voting for me and we can really turn this ward around. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And our next candidate, our last candidate. Go right ahead, sir.
May I please stand to address the audience?
Oh,
Sit down.
yeah, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Reverend Brazier, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight. I want to thank my lovely wife in attendance and my son and my family. My name is Ernest Coach Radcliffe. I've lived in the 20th Ward for 25 years. I've dedicated my entire life to the 20th Ward, given 18 years of service to youth and young adults through sports-based programs. I've given hope and vision to thousands of children. I've trained and cared and loved 25,000. I've sent over 300 kids to college for free. 300 to college for free, where parents would not even think of that happening. I am running for alderman because we have some deeply rooted issues that need to be addressed. I am here as a concerned citizen. I'm here to work for you. It is not about being the alderman, not about having the title. My main concern is saving our youth. And tonight we will discuss different topics that will help do that. And I want to thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight. And may God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. When you spoke of workforce development, we've been able to institute a program over at Kennedy King College, and we've put a pilot program here in the Woodlawn community. It is called the Center for Working Families. In that Center for Working Families, we've been able to put more than 250 people to work. That Center for Working Family wraps around the services that are necessary for families to advance. One thing we find in our communities is that we have challenges with families that far exceed just employment. It involves education, it involves psychological issues, it involves health issues, and so on and so forth. And so we've teamed with Metropolitan Family Services. We put them in Kennedy King because Kennedy King is a city college that offers a number of professional development and outcomes, whether it be a certification or whether it be degree. Auto body, chef, and so on and so forth. As far as small business is concerned, we look at large businesses as well. We go out to the International Shopping Center convention so that we can recruit businesses that come into our community. Those recruiting efforts have resulted in shopping plazas that are on King Drive. They are on 59th and Wabash. They have brought Save-A-Lot in, and now I am in negotiations to bring Mariano's into the 20th Ward. We work with the CDC over in the Englewood community, where we are putting a comprehensive community kitchen in place so that we can take advantage of the whole food development that is taking place in the Englewood community, where we can put local business people in place, give them locations so that they can prepare their foods and products and put them on the shelves of Whole Foods. We've conducted 3 community planning programs for that so that we can bring local businesses in place. You will be able to, as far as April 1st is concerned, be able to go into a incubator program in 2 locations. One at 61st and Eberhard, another at 61st and Green, right across the street from the Whole Food site. Where if you are a business and you're looking for a location to run your business from, you will be able to rent space there for $25 a month, hold your meetings, and so on and so forth. We've been doing an outstanding job. We look to do and continue to do an outstanding job bringing you hotels and other outcomes. Economic development also, I must say, is embedded in human development. Economic development is embedded in human development, and we'll get back to that later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Smith, please. Economic development, 3 minutes.
I would support incubator, business incubator like Sunshine. And I would also put in grants.
Can you hear him? I'm not sure.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Either talk loud or talk low.
Yeah, couple louder.
I would also bring in Chamber of Commerce to work with those businesses. One of the problems that we have in the 20th Ward is we have a lot of abandoned buildings. So businesses don't like to come where there are really not that many residents and there's a lot of abandoned buildings. So we have to fix that issue. The other thing I would do is I would adopt 53rd Street, because 63rd Street should look like 53rd Street. The Obama Library is coming, so the businesses are going to come. But the question is, who's going to fight for the residents who work in these businesses or on these sites? You know, so there's a lot of things that we have to do. More than anything, we have to bring the people together to have a say-so in what's going on in the 20th Ward. The stakeholders, the residents. You know, there's many of you that has ideas that's out there that you want to open up your own business. You should be able to come and sit down with the owner. He should be able to find TIP funds or grant to help you. You live here. You're a resident. You know, so those are the things that I would be doing. Those are the things that I would be fighting for, and those are the most definitely are the things that I'll be standing for. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next, Mr. Bailey, Economic Development.
Thank you. Well, first I think we need to highlight the resources that this ward has. We have some wonderful resources. We are a great transportation hub. We have 2 highways very accessible to us, 2 CTA lines, 2 metro lines, and a 3rd just outside the ward. We have a major university, world class, in the community. We have a major hospital, world class, in the community. And we have a major world class railroad. We are ripe for all types of development. 20 minutes away from an international airport and 15 minutes from downtown. With these credentials as a community, we are ripe to bring in and attract many different types of development, including the presidential library, which is why it was chosen, not chosen, but a very hot topic to be put in the Washington Park area. I believe conjoining that with the research in the community to match that up with traffic patterns of where we have high traffic volumes of cars passing and foot traffic. With that criteria, we can start to negotiate with different businesses that are willing to come into the community as it is now. And as we continue to develop in this community, we can further present a better business case. A good way to retain that development is to make sure that we have homegrown entrepreneurs. So when we do have contracts that come to the community and we have TIP funding, that you, as community members, are a part of that development. You are the ones that will submit requests for proposals, and you are the ones that will be able to benefit and hire more people from the community, so we're growing together. And a good way to expand that is to make sure that we have proper access to capital, have proper access to deal flow, which means more contracts, and make sure that we're having the proper mentorship. So as your company grows, you have someone there with the business expertise that may come from the community. We have a lot of resources with people with all types of knowledge to help you grow your company and scale according to the opportunity that you have at hand. So I think with those at hand, we will have an excellent economic opportunity and to take advantage of in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, Mr. Ray.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have one of the best, outstanding, authoritarian lawyer with a law firm who will guide me in basically every aspect of my office as Alderman. Before I go any further, I'd just like to indicate to you, especially pertaining to the TIF, which is to ignite, encourage future business, new business, extended businesses. Don't get lost on that TIF now. There are a lot of wording in legal language that you and a lot of us may not understand. But Ed Burr, the alderman of the 14th Ward, understands it quite clearly, because he took $40,000 of his TIF funds from the 14th Ward and put a wrought iron fence around his home. Okay? There are so many things that we can do to expand our ward and improve our ward. It doesn't have to be low income. I believe in market rent structures for housing. And one other aspect. At the last forum, a young lady said, well, what about east of Cottage Grove development? Well, you know, the university has just put 2 schools here. And most of you may not do as I do and go downtown and do the research and find out that there's 2 lots right there on that corner that they own and will develop for them. Why can't we do the necessary things going west from 63rd Cottage to King Drive? Well, I'm going to push that issue, because as I travel on North Avenue and many other streets and areas throughout this city, there are housing with sandwich shops, cleaners, etc. on the first floor. This area is sufficient for not necessarily low income, but we can go to market rental people in housing for them. They will come. You ever heard of regentrification? It's going well in the 20th Ward for this TIF area from the police station to 55th and from King Drive West. So let's not get fooled on a lot of mumbo jumbo from people as to what I've controlled and I've been in charge of this and that. You really need a thinker. You need a person to go to that city council who knows something about Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary procedure that I have, that I gained through the Knights of Peter Clavers as a junior knight commander and etc. You need people who can think and not just sit up here and tell you some pie in the sky. Thank you.
All right, and next, of course, Mr. Ernest Radcliffe. Mr. Radcliffe, please.
Thank you, sir. We all want economic development to come into the 20th Ward on a continuous basis. The first thing that we must do is we must clean the ward up with public safety. Public safety is the most important thing, so the businesses that will come in will stay. I just spoke to a gentleman at 63rd and Woodlawn at Robust Coffee Shop, the owner, Jake, and his number one concern was that his business will flourish if he has some, if it was safe. And that is a main concern when I go through the ward and talk to our businesses, is that they want to make sure that there's safety within the ward. Once that is established, then more businesses will want to come into the ward. Spending will be free. The business owners won't have to worry about their stores being broken in. The employees won't have to worry about getting to work. Everybody will be safe. The other thing is that on 63rd and Cottage Grove at King Drive, that needs to be cleaned up as well and be revitalized. We can have some, we have a lot of lot development that needs to happen as well. And we talk about using the TIF and things of that nature. My concern is that the TIF should not be used unless we have community forums. Once we have community forums and we address that with the residents of the ward, and then we can proceed on to that. We know that money has been allocated throughout the ward, but our residents have not been able to, their voices have not been able to be heard. So we want to make sure that we are able to take care of those situations. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate the question.
Thank you so much.
Giving people opportunity to go into business is some of the things that I am very adamant about. That is one of the reasons that we put the Center for Working Families over at Kennedy King, to give them the opportunity to not only be able to get an AA degree, but to go into certification classes that will give them the opportunity to go and become truck drivers at our Olive Harvey branch, CDLs, chauffeur's license at the Olive Harvey branch, CDLs. Not only that, it gives them an opportunity to take advantage of an industry that is growing 82% over the next 12 years, and that is transportation and logistics. We're building a 200,000 square foot logistics center at Olive Harvey to give people an opportunity to go through that program and get careers that are now paying about $51,000, $52,000 a year. We put a number of programs in place that will help them with their GEDs, that will help them with specialization, and will help them in every aspect of their lives. And we've done that because we know that each one of our children, each one of those people who need to get some support are not at the same level of performance academically. And so that is what we've done. At Kennedy K, it is one of the first 2 Centers for Working Families that has ever been put in a city college. And that has been brought under my watch.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Fraser is saying we're going to take some more. Yes.
Did both Willies respond, she says? Okay, thank you, young lady. I would just like to mention to you all, ladies and gentlemen, that I am high-tech when it comes to education. I'm proud to announce that my daughter here, she's at Beasley Magnet School, and she teaches the gifted kids. I've spent a lot of money in investing in my 3 kids' education. What I plan to do is, there's 2 things. One happens to do with city contracts. I want y'all to get this. Do you know that these gentlemen who ride around here in the summer times on them tractors, cutting these lots that the city owns, etc., that's not the streets and sanitation. That's a private contract that comes through your Alderman. And from my understanding, my sources tell me that it's not a brother in Chicago with that contract, but how much of that contract money comes back into the ward with the young folks. Second thing is the children of the elementary schools. I plan to start a program, especially starting with Teal School here on Marquette, that a community organization that I'm a member of, we adopted that school several years ago. Miss Murchison, her daughter, is right here, and several other people, Mr. whatever we call him, Chicken Man, but Mr. Lavender in the back, he's also a part, and other people. And these are the things that I'm inspiring to encourage these young people in these elementary schools, those who don't miss a day of school, those whose personality and other issues improve. It will be dealt with their school teachers, the classroom teacher.
All right,
so
thank you, Mr. Ray. We've got
sure, thank you.
Yeah, we've got to try to keep it to the question. 2 minutes at the most, right?
Good evening. My name is Marcus Gill, member of the Woodlawn community, business owner, Dust and Clean Maintenance Company here in Woodlawn. We all know poverty breeds criminalization. What I would like to know in our community, Kevin Bailey, Alderman Cochran, you guys answer this question. I would like to know your plans on having a more increase of maybe 40% of businesses that's already within the community. People that look like us obtain jobs and contracts within the community. So what are your plans to meet those certain statuses and goals with MBE, WBE firms here? I'd like to see more people that look like us get the jobs that's within our community.
All right, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you very much for that question. You bring up an excellent point. I'm a huge supporter of parity. I believe that if a certain community is represented by 80% of a demographic, the public contracts or contracts of the city that from the revenue that they get from the taxpayer needs to go back to that same demographic. So, for example, if we have a TIF come through the community, this ward is probably about 85% African American. I believe the majority of those businesses, 85% of those contracts should go to those entrepreneurs in the community, and if not from the community right just outside it. That way we keep that cycle of money flowing through this ward. I think that's one way that we can ensure that the businesses that are currently here have access just by parity. Now, another way to have a more hands-on approach is to actively mentor and get involved and engage those companies that exist. It's not coming from me, but from the Alderman's platform, you have access to experts that live within the ward and people who may have just the expertise across the city to give you that access to them and forge a relationship, and maybe you guys just have developed a good working relationship and grow your company from there.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ryan L. Morgan. I've been in this community since 1994, and I hear you guys mostly talking about the Woodlawn, whereas this ward consists of Woodlawn, Washington Park, back of the yards, and Inglewood. In Inglewood, there are a lot of vacant buildings and houses. This question is for Mr. Smith and Mr. Radcliffe. Please tell us what is your plan to address that area with those vacant buildings and houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Radcliffe?
As I said before, the vacant lots should not be there. Should not be there at all. What should happen is that those lots need to be redeveloped. We have a consistent situation with our youth and young adults. That is a lot of violence and things that's going on in the neighborhood. I would like to see that land transformed into an academic resource center, along with an indoor and outdoor facility to house all our youth in a central location. This would give us an opportunity to mentor our young people, have high-level teachers to teach our kids after school, give the coaches who are most involved with the young people's lives an opportunity to put their hands on them and change their minds about the things that are going on within the ward. And you are absolutely right. It is not just Woodlawn. It is Inglewood. It is back of the yards. It is Washington Park. And we must help all of that. As Alderman, it is my responsibility to make sure that everyone that is in that area, in that community, has some type of resources that will allow them to become productive citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Keisha Chambers. I'm a proud resident of Washington Park. And one of the things that I'd like to ask is, as far as Washington Park being the last of those 4 communities that have been mentioned to be tipped, we also have been in the news with regards to the Obama Presidential Library. And what I would like to know is, as far as the TIF, we have no money in our TIF. The TIF process, Mr. Ray, you said was, we don't need to get caught up in it. I think we kind of got that feeling from you. I want to know from you, the Obama Library has, I guess in the promotion of the library, there's been this big discussion of 44 businesses in the Washington Park community, or building up 44 businesses. We have no money in the TIF. We have to build up the TIF. How would you build that TIF up in order to bring businesses, in order to bring in any type of longevity, economic longevity to the Washington Park community, tying in both the Obama Presidential Library and the TIF process, since you said it was not really, we shouldn't get caught up in it?
No, what I was referring to in regards to not getting caught up in the TIF was the language in the TIF. There are language I'm saying in the TIF that many of us don't know word for word, because if Ed Burke could use $40,000 of his TIF, I thought the TIF was supposed to create jobs and expand jobs, business and so forth. That's his private home. $40,000 can be used for that. Then what is it that it can't be used for, was what I was saying. But my point on to what you were saying in regards to creating, I personally believe in consensus. And I do understand that the TIF funds in the city of Chicago is so humongous. I will discuss with whomever is running the 5th floor what I need, what we want, Washington Park, Inglewood, Woodlawn, etc., etc. I will find monies to do basically everything we can do to improve our neighborhoods.
Okay. Yes, you're next. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lynn West, and I just recently moved into the community on the 61st in Dorchester. My son is a student, law student at the University of Chicago, and I met Mr. Radcliffe and his lovely family the other day in front of my home. I just think it would be wonderful. I walked down Stony Island, and I know there's the Stony Bank, and I know Theaster Gates is doing some things, and I would just like to, in any way I can, volunteer. I'm an artist. I have a non-for-profit that deals with autism and special needs, things of that sort, and the arts. So if at any time, like just to make it beautiful on Stony Island, as things develop, to do maybe just garbage cans, get kids together and make them really pretty, make it look artsy, so people want to come. Oh, there was a question. I want to volunteer, so please let me know who I need to contact to volunteer to help do these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very nice. Okay. This is our last question relative to economic development.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say giving honors to God. My name is Sylvia Brooks. I've been here since 1964. I've been a member of this church for 17 years now. I'm a community advocate activist for teens and young adults. I work very, very hard to help in the community. Mr. Cochran, this question is for you. I would like to know what's in place for homeless teens and young adults that's living in the Woodlawn area, that's out on the streets after hours, things of that. I understand about the police department. I've said with you before, and it could be for you too, Mr. Radcliffe. But I just wanted, yes sir, just one. Okay, yes, Pastor. I want to know what's the implementation to help parents, teens and young adults to better assess themselves for social emotional skills and development, to help them to go from school to activity to work programs. I want to know who are the people, the aldermen in the community to help. This is where the crime is at. Teens and young adults, killing teens, young adults, hunger issues and so forth. But that's my question. My question is for you, Mr. Alderman, to let me know what's in place to help with that. I understand, so economic development, stop, yes, but can you answer that question? Thank you.
Okay.
Because public safety is going to go a little later. Go right ahead, Owen.
As I mentioned at the close of one of my statements, that human development was part of economic development. And the point that I was making there is that social and emotional issues are part of the development of youth. If they are not addressed, then they carry a burden with them that changes that into violence, corruption, anger management, and so on and so forth. So what I've done in that is I've introduced a youth pediatric behavioral health program. That program has just been in place about 8 months, and we cannot have one in every community. And so what I did was couple that with a program at Eaglewood Health Care Center. It becomes part of a doctor's visit. Once a kid goes into a doctor's visit, he sees a social worker, and if it's necessary, they see a psychiatrist. Why? Because we want to relieve our youth of the challenges they have not had. They see yellow tape, they have challenges at home, they have challenges in the street, and it affects them mentally. This program has been put in place to help relieve that. We have community health program at the same location that provides free health care, free dental care, and free medical prescriptions. It says 30 seconds. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Okay. Our next topic is a very important one, of course, is education. And we would love to have you address, among whatever else you want to, as we start. How do you view the importance of education in the ward that you represent or wish to? What types of initiatives would you develop, authorize, or support for the improvement of schools, including alternative schools, charter schools, or contract schools? What is your plan to utilize the closed school buildings in your ward? Would you set off the asset or use the asset to leverage community interest and of course, education, funding, equality. How do we do that? Should it be some other way other than just local property taxes? And this time, let's start off with Mr. Smith, and we'll work down. Andre? And 2 minutes. Yeah,
Once again, thank you, Cliff.
yeah, 2 minutes each, and then we're going to take some Q&A on that too.
Well, I've given some thought. I've talked to some residents and things of that nature. Bessie Ross School, I most definitely are very, very interested in making that a robotics school. Then you have Fifth School. Fifth School, I sat back, I talked to some stakeholders, residents. I would have to talk with the family of Dr. Brazier. He don't even know this, but I would like to make Fifth School a STEM school, named after Dr. Bishop Brazier. Because one thing that happens in our community, we serve our community. We're faithful to our community, but we're not respected in our community. Dr. Brazier served our community for a very long time. They denied him the street. I would like to name Fifth School after him, but I would like for it to be a STEM school. Other than that, I think that's the schools. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bailey, please.
Sure. Education is huge. It is the way to ensure that we have a future as a community by engaging our youth and ensuring that they have the proper resources mentally and an ability to protect us as we go forward as they take over responsibilities. We've had so many closings across the city and a very large concentration of that, I guess percentage-wise, in this ward. With the way that they've been divesting from our community, I would like to open it up to a variety of choices, which may include some alternative schools, which may include charter schools, which may include reopening some of the public programs. But whatever way that we are able to do, I would like to see the community engaged. I would like to see an elected school board. I would like to see an empowered local school council to make some of the local decisions. And I would like to see that they are given the proper support to make things happen. So we're giving our kids the best in books, the best in technology, and offer them a bright future. So I believe which particular type of school, I believe it should be a case-by-case assessment, because all of it can be good for a program, when all of it can be good for a community where they've closed so many different schools.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Ray, please.
Thank you. To the question on education, I am such a fanatic person in regards to our kids achieving in the area of education. Now, one thing in my flyer, for those of you who may have seen it, there's one issue here in regards to my pledge. In Georgia, a non-union state, about 15 years ago, when Georgia was booming, everybody's moving to Georgia. Well, the state legislatures down there had some balls. They enacted what is known as a Hope Scholarship. Now, it's sort of similar to what the current mayor's talking about here. He's talking about what, a 3 or 4 point grade average and this and that, whatever. But the Hope Scholarship in Georgia is not like that. It's like 2 point whatever. In Georgia, if you attend high school there for 4 years, you can apply for this Hope Scholarship, and it pays for everything except room and board. You can go to technical college, you can go to junior college, you can go to 4-year university, etc. I'm telling you, there are so many things that we need to explore as thinking people, and not let someone from the 5th floor in your Alderman dictate, because they're about money. I'm about the real deal. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ray. Now, Mr. Radcliffe, please.
Ernest Radcliffe. Education is very, very important. It's the key to revitalizing our community. We must be able to teach our children, give our children the opportunity to prosper. Without education, we will be doomed. And I want to say, as a coach and a father, I have to instill that into my family. As I'm teaching my young people, I have to instill the importance of education. That is the key for you to be able to provide for your family in the future. We should not have our school buildings closed. We have several schools that are closed. The schools should be open, and those should be resource centers for our children to go in. Those schools are sitting there, and the schools are being broken into. The kids want to be in the schools, not out of the schools. And we need to make sure that we open those schools. The other thing that I want to touch on is that, as the alderman, we should provide some additional funds for extracurricular activities as well. Extracurricular activities is the key to a lot of our social needs for our children. It gives them an outlet, it gives them the opportunity to release energy so they won't think about other things, gangbanging, drugs, and things of that nature. It is important as the alderman that we use all resources to save our youth and save our young adults. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radcliffe. And Alderman Cochran. And look, before the alderman starts, we're going to take a couple of questions right after this. We'll take, so if somebody wants to, on education, Dr. Brazier is going to make sure we get a couple of questions. And it's got to be on the issue, remember that, and direct it to someone on the panel. Alderman?
Thank you very much, Cliff. I am very much involved in education. One of the things that we have done as far as education is concerned is we've developed a education task force. That task force brings principals, educators together once every 2 months to talk about the issues associated with their educational issues in their schools. It has been very effective. We've improved our schools by it. We brought the school, Johnson Prep, over in Inglewood. We've created a campus. Urban Prep has come in since I've been elected. We've created that campus over on Stewart where we have teamwork, Inglewood. And we've advocated for, as a result of the work that we've done in this community, before I was elected, the neighborhood school, which is the University of Chicago Charter School. Again, I point out the fact that each one of those schools are graduating and sending 98 to 100% of their graduates to college. That is not done. That is what I've done in education. Even more so, we've developed a program over in the Inglewood community, an early childhood program that is a national model now. It's opened up 8 months ago, 6 months old to 5-year-old, to provide them with the basis that they need so that when they hit first grade, they are at and above reading level, which reduces their chances of going to special education. President Clinton has come to that program, and it is often shown across the nation as one that is in place. And we combine that with social and emotional support for families and workforce development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Adam, go right ahead, please. Your question and who is directed to, please.
Well, I'm directing that question to the entire panel.
Well, you got to select one first.
Everyone, I'm a resident of Woodlawn, and my family has been here since 1953. I'm very concerned about education in our city. All our youth who are gangbanging and their parents, for the most part, and their grandparents are all former students in Chicago public schools. We suggest that there are some perhaps special needs that we have not thought about. So perhaps Alderman, you could discuss maybe some special needs that African American people need that maybe we haven't gotten. That's the good idea.
Alderman.
Well, I have to say this, and I'll go back to my opening statement. And there are some things that our society is embedded, that are embedded in our society, that is structural and universal, and it goes across communities. Gang cultures are something that has been around for years. Tribal cultures turns into gangs that has come across the world. How do we address these issues in our community? We provide the social services that we can give them. We give them the emotional courage and support systems that they need, and a good educational support system. We take there are long-term, short-term, and mid-range plans that have to go into place. And it has to be a holistic approach. And there is no one-size-fits-all. And it is focused on the needs of the family. And we have to assess each child. We have to assess the family needs. And we have to look at the economic possibilities that each has. And produce what we can. But we have to take into consideration that there are some that we can be successful with, and then some that are not going to be successful. We have to focus our attention on culture. We have to focus our attention on economics. We have to focus our attention on mental health and supports.
Okay. Yes, sir, please.
This question is from Mr. Radcliffe.
Yeah, would you identify yourself, please?
My name is Mario from the Woodlawn area, 20th Ward.
Good.
Now, a question from Mr. Radcliffe. Do you support charter schools and elected school board? And also, do you believe schools should have autonomy?
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, sir. Excuse me. Thank you for the question. I support schools that are going to teach our children the correct way. That's what I support. I support that we should have an elected school board that the parents will have the opportunity to vote on who should be in place, that will hold the administration accountable for the lack of educational things that are happening within our school systems. Thank you.
So you do support charter schools?
I support elected school board, and I support education. I support good education. Good education.
Is that a yes or no? Charter schools.
Oh,
no, charter schools. Do you support charter schools? Yes or no, baby?
Well, I support.
Okay.
Elected school board, and I support
school autonomy.
Good education.
And school autonomy.
He supports an elected board.
Elected school.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
My name is Gerald Williams. I'm a private.
Get closer to the mic. Yeah. Get a little closer to the mic so we can hear you.
I'm a product of Woodlawn. I left about 45 years ago, returning after being away for a very long time. My question is for Mr. Bailey, since he is a product of the 20th Ward. What do you think of the idea, and I hear a lot of this, that we need to keep our schools open? And what would you do to attract people to the community who have children to attend those schools? Because the schools aren't closed for no reason. The populations of the communities are going down. So how would you address that? And the rest of you can think about that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bailey?
Sure. I believe the lack of residents to fill the schools up has to do with the lack of opportunity, which goes back to economic development. In addition, to attract new people into the community, it needs to be a safe community, and it also needs to be a place where they can find some jobs or someplace. So we have to make it safe enough for people to want to come back home here. That includes infrastructure, making sure they're not driving under a bridge and a brick falls off and busts the front windshield of their vehicle, or walking next to a building and a brick falls off that and busts them in the head, to making sure that we have access to appropriate emergency services, which not only includes the police officers, but firefighters as well, making sure that they're properly staffed and properly funded, in addition to an organized community, from block clubs to precinct committees to precinct captains. That way, when issues do come up, residents don't feel like they're ignored, and they can get their issue handled quickly in a timely manner. So I believe if we handle those surrounding circumstances, we can begin to attract new residents to the community. Then we're stuck with the point, how do we make education relevant to the teenagers once again? Because you have people just going to school, they're not necessarily reading, they don't really get what it does for them. We really have to point the picture out to them that education isn't about knowing what a president is 20 years later, like that's going to be the exact thing to get you a job, but to understand that whenever you have these various disciplines, it builds your person, it builds your character.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
That's necessary. Thank you.
All right. This is something that I know a lot of
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. My name is
Thank you,
Kimberly.
Doc. Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Johnson, and I work for CPS, and I have been for 20-something years. So I have an inside scoop. So my question is to our Alderman. I understand you're up there. This 20th Ward is very big and very long and very wide. But however, you're bragging about a few schools. What are you going to do to make sure those few schools that you're bragging about reach the level of all the schools that everybody could be satisfied in 20th Ward?
Well, I'd like to say this. First of all, the CPS, Chicago Public Schools, and Alderman are separate bodies. The Aldermen do not have a vote on closing schools. They have no power over those schools. The Aldermen do not have a vote in closing schools. We fight for our schools. I had 13 schools that were on the cut list. We got them down, and we only have 2 empty buildings now. So we fought for them, and we advocated for them. And we brought the leadership of the board out to the schools, and we walked through them, and we continue to advocate for them. That's why we got there. Our goals is to make neighborhood schools high-performing schools. There was a question earlier about what could you do to attract homeowners and people into the neighborhoods. One of the things that attract homeowners and people into your neighborhood is to have good quality public education. And we sat on the Woodlawn Children's Promise Community Board. And we went out to New York, and we've sat with Jeffrey Kennedy, and we've looked at all of the things that